Here, Russians were grilling kebabs on the balcony on the second floor because it was raining, and because of that, the roof caught fire, and because of that, this house was damaged very badly. With the phones, TVs, computers that were taken from us, you can pave the road to Belgorod and back. It's easy to make a whole highway out of all this equipment. One shell hit here, and the other one hit there. Fascists. I don't call them anything else.
There was a stage, but not anymore.
At one point, there were more Russians than the population.
This is what the Hoptivka checkpoint looked like the day before Russia invaded Ukraine. On February 23, 2022, the powerful international highway connecting the two countries was operating as usual. People returning by foot from Russia to Ukraine said they did not see any military equipment amassing.
It's quiet and peaceful there.
But everything changed on February 24, 2022. At 5 am, there was an enemy attack on Hoptivka. Shelling began from the Russian side towards Kharkiv and the region. Grad rockets, mortars, artillery, and columns of Russian vehicles were heading towards the city. The village of Hoptivka, near the checkpoint, was occupied on the first day of the full-scale invasion. The residents of Hoptivka had to live next to the enemy for 7 long months. In the very first hours of their stay in the village, the Russian military began looting houses, expelling locals from their apartments and moving in, as they said, for a long time.
Over there, we can see the Logia. Well, according to them, my mother lives on the street here, my aunt Katerina Ovcharenko. This is where the Russians were grilling kebabs on the balcony. On the second floor because it was raining. And because of this, the roof caught fire and this house was damaged very badly. They lived everywhere, yes. Shkilna Street, the lowest street, not the central street, but Shkilna Street. The first floors and basements were completely occupied by Russians.
History and geography teacher Liubov Shvorak never left the village and stayed in Hoptivka throughout the occupation. She says that the scale of destruction in the village is insignificant because the Russians were hiding everywhere. But the amount of looted human property taken away from here is impressive.
With the phones, TVs, computers that were taken from us, you can pave the road to Belgorod and back. It's easy to make a whole highway out of all this equipment. We had 2 computer labs in our school, interactive whiteboards, computers in every classroom, laptops for teachers and children. New equipment was brought in. Nothing was left. Everything was taken away, dismantled, destroyed. And how many phones were taken away from people? They went around with searches. You'd be walking down the street. Do you have a phone? Show me. They took it away, and that was it, to be checked. And this check probably ended somewhere in Russia, in Moscow, or wherever it was, in Saratov.
The teacher had to communicate with Russians under occupation on various topics, although the war taught her to be careful with her words and mostly keep silent. But when it came to Putin's favorite narrative of liberating Ukrainians from Nazism, she couldn't resist.
We will liberate you from the Nazis. And I answered, who are the Nazis? Can you explain it to me? Well, the Nazis. And I said, who are the Nazis? Don't you know? They built concentration camps during the war. So show me at least one concentration camp. You don't have any, but they are there. I said, where are they? And anyway, we gave you Kiev. Don't you learn history? I look at him and ask, what was Rus like? Was it Kievan or Moscow? So what was it before? Kiev or Moscow? And who gave what to whom? What can I say to him? There was never a Ukraine. I answer, wait, we studied the same history. We come from the Usser. We studied the same history. Wait, did it never exist? Was there a Cossack Ukraine? Yes, when it was.
68-year-old Claudia Chirko, a resident of Hoptivka, was asvobodili from her own house. She had been building it for almost 10 years with her husband. In the summer of 2022, there was a shelling and enemy shells of 155 caliber hit the first floor, destroying the ceiling of the house. The pensioner survived because she was in the basement at the time of the explosion. Before the house was destroyed, not a single foot of a Russian soldier crossed the threshold of her house. The clever Ukrainian woman had her own secret.
And now, the Russian world is here. It all happened here. I put everything together, cleaned it up as much as I could. He enters the basement, and I hid here. I was here, of course. No one has lived with me. I have my own secret. I'll tell you in your ear. No one else. I have my own secret. They came 5 times, just asking why you are wearing a size 43 shoe. Well, my son-in-law left me all the mismatched ones, so I was wearing them out. So what's the secret? I'll tell you in your ear, because you're looking at the screen. My grandmother taught me when I was 41, so I'll tell you now.
Claudia Stepanivna told us the secret of keeping the occupiers out of the house. It is that the Russian world smells bad, it stinks, and the pensioner demonstrated this to the Russians in an ancient way with the help of night pots. After her release, the woman handed over her car to the Ukrainian armed forces and showed them where the Russian military stored ammunition and shell remnants. She collected shell casings and missile shanks in her yard. Now they will be used for good.
Life shows what she will make with the shell casings. No one will hand over this scrap metal. These fascists, I can't call them anything else. These are the traces of the Russian army. What are you going to use them for? And the fence says, whose it is. It will be added here. It will dig into the ground. It will fall down here and will not loosen. And here you can put a mesh or slate on top.
The smell of burning, garbage, and dirt in the local house of culture has not yet faded. Russian troops set up their headquarters here, and when they were hastily withdrawing from Hoptivka, they burned the building. The club had 4 different clubs for children and adults. Roman Lashko, who held many festive events here, did not recognize the ruins of his home.
There was a scene here. There was a scene, but not anymore. Repairs were made, but everything here has already been washed away and fallen apart.
On September 11, 2022, Hoptivka came under the control of the armed forces of Ukraine. There is still no gas, water, electricity, or mobile phone service. There are also no children in the village, as it is unfortunately impossible to study even online under such conditions. Out of the 1,000 people who lived here before the invasion, only 69 remained. These are the ones who survived the occupation.
There are only pensioners and women left, and very few young people. I am the youngest here. I am 30 years old. No one is interested anymore, and at one point, there were more Russians than people. And there were 1,000 people in the village, so...
But life is slowly coming back. The Ukrainian military dismantled the signpost with the inscription Hoptivka in the first days of the invasion to confuse the Russian occupiers. Almost a year after the liberation, it was returned to its old place and decorated with a yellow and blue flag, because Hoptivka is Ukraine.
A true patriot keeps the Ukrainian flag at home, and it's nice. At least in the face of such destruction as everywhere else.